Jane stared at the kid from Uffie with what could only be described as dismay. Her husband, Eduardo, had been kidnapped. She'd gone through the whole horrifying ordeal herself, had scoured the country in a desperate search for someone to help her. She was frantic. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and now the federal police had sent her an unarmed boy. The young man took one look at Jane, saw her disappointment, and then spoke.
He had a very confident smile on his face, takes off his glasses and hat, and says, "Look, would you really want me arriving in a bulletproof Suburban and coming out with a machine gun? How would that look if you're being watched? We could be putting your husband at risk."
The agent, Jane learned, was older than he looked, was an experienced hostage negotiator. He brought his weapon into Jane's house. It was a laptop computer.
He actually selected a place here in the dining room where he would be the only one to see his computer screen. He was in a spot where he could see all the goings-on in the house.
His name is a federal secret, his face a blank. Our interview request went to the highest level. We were denied. We do know he was constantly online with a team of agents in Mexico City, analyzing what clues they had, advising Jane's agent on strategy. Not just Jane's agent, of course.
We have as many as 25 kidnappings at a time.
Still, she might have been reassured by this. A state-of-the-art lab on standby to identify the voices of any kidnappers who might call her.
We have 2,374 voices related with kidnappings and extortion.
And here in a giant room that looks like NASA, more agents track hundreds of surveillance sites around the country. But on day one, all that expertise coughed up only this one piece of very bad news. The people who grabbed Eduardo, they were almost certainly, said the police, part of a fringe Marxist political group called the EPR. One detail was striking from the beginning. Left on Eduardo's car seat was a brand new hammer. Was it the weapon used in the attack or something else?
I found out that it was actually a calling card, and that's not unusual, and that this group always leaves behind a hammer, which really gave me the creeps.
Jane's agent considered the evidence and offered a dismal prediction.
You need to brace yourself and pace yourself, because this is not going to be over in 24 hours like you'd like. As a matter of fact, this is not a matter of days or weeks. Based on previous experience with this particular group, this is going to be months if you're lucky.
What was it like to hear that?
I thought I was going to go crazy. I thought for sure I'd have a nervous breakdown right then and there.
Jane's 12-year-old Fernando looked on, helpless.
She just had this face. I can't describe it. It was terrible. It looked like a dead person. I was just so scared, and I put my bed and my brother's bed together, and I slept with them.
What was it like going to bed that first night?
There was no going to bed. I couldn't even eat. Where was my husband? What kind of conditions was he in? How was he being treated? Was he even alive? How do you sleep? There was no way.
In historic San Miguel, though Eduardo was a prominent local citizen, life went on as if nothing had happened. Even though he'd been a known anti-poverty activist, a panelist on a local TV show. In fact, this is a recording of the very broadcast aired the night before he was taken. This is the host of the show and a co-owner of the TV station, Lucy Nunez. Today she's the mayor of San Miguel. But what was she able to do to free Eduardo or find his kidnappers?
How often was it reported on the television or radio?
No, we never said anything.
A request, she said, from the federal police.
They said no comments in the radio station, no comments in the channel, because we don't want these people to be afraid or whatever, and they could do something to Eduardo. So it was like mouth closed, like everybody was acting that as if nothing was happening.
Everybody, perhaps, but Jane, whose need for information was making her crazy. Remember, the kidnapper said, "Go home, you'll get an email with our demands." But on day one, there was no email, nor on day 2, nor 3, nor day 4. And then, after 5 full days and nights of sleepless torture, Jane turned on her computer and read the news.
We hope that the Senora has arrived well to her house. For the liberation of Eduardo, we are demanding the amount of $8 million.
$8 million. Send the money, said the email, in U.S. currency, $100 bills.
Now I'm thinking that they're just going to kill him because I didn't have that kind of cash.
But remember what happened to that other woman's husband when she told kidnappers she couldn't meet their demands?
They cut a finger and they sent us the finger.
Wealth is relative, of course, and can often be an illusion. Anybody familiar with the idyllic ranch here outside San Miguel, anybody who'd heard about Eduardo, scion of a famous publishing empire, might quite reasonably have assumed he was among Mexico's super rich. But that would be a mistake. It was the mistake the kidnappers made, a mistake that was about to become Jane's very serious practical problem.
I didn't have access to anything, really, beyond what was in our checking account.
The fact of the matter was, the Valsecas were house poor. They'd put everything they had into the ranch. And at recession prices, even if she could sell it, she'd get a small fraction of $8 million. There in the dining room, Jane showed the email to her AFI agent and realized he was not surprised.
You know, Jane, you have to realize that this is the way this works. You're going to be learning the ropes here. They hope to get that amount, but this is where we start negotiating.
The kidnappers set the rules. Jane must respond to their emails in the want ad section of a specific newspaper. Her first ad, they demanded, would go in the animals and pets section and read, "Buy a Chow Chow dog, Austin, vaccinated with complete pedigree, 8,000 pesos." Meaning, of course, $8 million to buy back Eduardo. They started out at $8 million.
Mm-hmm.
What did you respond?
It basically went out saying, we're very concerned for the puppy's well-being. We don't want any harm to come to him, mixed into the words. And your request is beyond our economic possibilities.
Just that?
Mm-hmm.
And then waited.
And then waited.